So, I thought I would make a video to explain how the agents work and to work through a tiny mission capturing the Duke of a province using some of our agents. We'll just use the default gods for this. We will activate all complexity functions and we will be on seed 0. Everything else remains the same. So let us generate. So an agent is just a unit with a attached person. Therefore they have a name, as opposed to an army, which is simply an anonymous group of individuals off to perform violence upon the enemies of the state. So here we have Merchant Jeu, Investigator Untitled, Merchant Mond. These are all agents. They will be carrying out their daily lives free of worries about you, I guess. Although the investigators are there, I guess they are worried about you, searching for signs of evil powers and signs that other agents are working against the good of the kingdom, or the good of the kingdoms in general, as there is some kind of human solidarity against the forces of darkness. So we can see what kind of action they're doing based on this action bar here. This one is traveling to a cathedral, this cathedral up here. This one is selling their cargo. And this is the Duke down here we will be trying to take control of, Duke Ord. So, this is the merchant. A merchant's role in society is to load cargo from one place, travel it to a different place, usually a city in a foreign country, where they can sell it. So we can see they have 70% wealth, 58% wealth and 70% cargo. They acquire cargo from their home country, in this case the Empire of Aimeray. They sell the cargo, in this case they are selling it in this church of Sion, and turn the cargo into wealth. The wealth they can then spend at any location with a noble. That allows them to build up liking with the noble. Spending their wealth creates an economic boom. It increases the noble's prestige and it increases the military strength of that location temporarily. So that will allow us to get a friend within the aristocracy. That friend can then be betrayed, and we can use their friendship to infiltrate their defences, setting us up for a total control of their mind. The informant of a noble. The investigator, on the other hand, is more of an offensive element. They are the police. They'll be watching out for signs of naughtiness, our agents committing crimes, and our agents becoming in fault, let's say, under our control. So Investigator Imant here is a threat to this merchant that we intend to take over, Merchant Oyashwil. The investigator can see evidence and can see our unit if they're in the same location, but they are offensive in that we can lie about who is guilty. We can get false evidence, or we can infiltrate, and then we can claim that either a agent or a noble is working for the darkness, even then when they are not. We will preempt their accusations, true accusations, that we are guilty by making up our own false accusations, and as such set the police against one another. So let us take our first action, which is enthralling this merchant here. We now have them as a unit. They have taken this turn by being enthralled, and they are now on no current task. And so with nothing else to do, let's just take the next turn. This one continues off on the way to that cathedral. The classic action a investigator we're doing is wandering. Wandering is essentially patrolling their nation and surrounding lands, looking for evidence. If they come adjacent to some evidence, they will move on to it and they will begin investigating it. We can see evidence here. Our informant of this agent has created a question mark which represents the evidence. If this investigator comes back while patrolling, they will stumble across the evidence and they will begin researching it. They will then learn that the merchant is evil. They will have discovered that they are under our control and they will attempt to warn people. For now, we can move this agent, our merchant, and we should sell the rest of the cargo that they have accrued, in order to bring our wealth to 100. We will then spend that wealth at this church and make a friend of this duke. We will then attempt to infiltrate the church. Infiltration, seen in the location tab here, occurs by an agent taking and completing the infiltrate action. This is a 7-turn action. And we can see the security level here is 6. Security is how hard it is to infiltrate. So we can see that they are duke, or they're high-ranking noble, so they gain 3 security from that. They gain 2 security from the society being introverted. That is to say they're inward focused. They care more about their own problems than they do about external threats. And there's an army and garrison. So a level 6 will reduce the amount every one of our infiltrate actions brings up this infiltration percentage. To enthrall this duke, bring them under our control, we want the infiltration to be above 90. But the more they like us, the more they trust us. The more they trust us, the more we can betray them. And so by making the merchant a friend of theirs, we can then gain infiltration at accelerated rate. So it's a difficult target, but we have an ideal piece for that purpose. So let's take the next turn. Here the investigator has learned about some evidence. The evidence is left within society's borders, which means the general populace can spot it, and they can then warn an investigator. Or at least the investigator can hear about the crimes and will be sent to investigate. It's this one. This person is now heading down, investigating evidence in the church. Problem, but not an unresolvable one. And this one can move. We'll be selling our cargo in a town because that generates more profit than most other places, as described here, and we gain a profit of 63%, which is decent but not amazing. So that's a multi-turn action. There's no particular number of turns. You can stop it at any point and simply move. So we'll hit end turn. Here is an agent collecting evidence. This one has simply wandered and found the evidence. It's not even the one that knew about it, that one that was coming there. This is simply an agent that wandered onto it. An investigator wandered onto it, and now they're investigating the evidence for 3 turns, at which point the evidence will be consumed, and they will gain suspicion against our merchant. But I have a plan. So, let us end turn a couple of times. Investigating agent, this one has arrived late to the crime scene, and will not have jurisdiction. Okay, he has now investigated it fully. We see that there's a red warning sign here, that we have been spotted. And they are sharing the suspicion. They're attempting to tell this local person, the abbot, that we are in league with the darkness. Annoying. The best way to handle this particular incident is probably to take control of this person as well. We can take 2 people, so may as well take control of the police who hate us. So now Imant is under our control. We have our 2 agents. Imant investigated our agent and is suspicious of them. Note the spiky yellow border. That indicates suspicion. Imant believes that... we can't see our own relationships, of course, because it's not an NPC. It's controlled by us. But we are suspicious of ourselves. There's no major problem there. We're not going to rat on ourselves. The next problem is the fact that we have created evidence here. And this investigator, Direz, can spot it. While the initial evidence that this merchant is evil is now consumed, new evidence has been placed that Imant is evil. Unfortunate, because this guy can start digging it up, and we can no longer fool him. So we will do the next best thing, and we will produce false evidence against him. This allows us to accuse him of being in league with the darkness. We will be accusing him to the nobles before he can accuse us. With no ability to tell who's right, the nobles will just believe the first one they hear. So if we do a false accusation, we have him given 25% suspicion, and so from the person liking view, we can now see most people are neutral, but this one has a red border, covering, mask, whatever, and we see that they are minus 50 liking, halfway to complete hatred, because we produced evidence against this guy, and we are now claiming they're in league with the darkness. We can then do it a second time, and now this abbot utterly despises this person, far before they can produce true evidence against us. We can then scurry along our way, and this happens to be where the queen lives. So, we'll also tell the Queen that this other investigator is in league with the darkness. As a result, the Queen will not believe their accusations against us. And no one has evidence currently against the merchant Moyashwell, who has now accrued all the gold they possibly can. They will now move to the church and begin spending their wealth to make a friend of the Duke. Meanwhile, this person will carry on their campaign of deception. We will make a false accusation against this investigator, Dieres. And the next turn we will do it again, and we'll move to Dieres' position. He has escaped us. We will chase him, and we produce more false evidence. We require charges of false evidence in order to use our ability. We can now see that in liking for this person, 2 people utterly dislike this guy. They will not believe his lies, or not lies. They will not believe his accurate reports on the situation. They will believe our lies instead. So we are defending against him reporting on the evidence by using our own investigator to spread lies and deceit against him. Notice he is sharing suspicions. He is warning that our investigator is evil. We can see his relationships here. He likes himself, unsurprisingly, and he utterly despises us, because he knows accurately that we are in league with dark powers. But it is far too late for you, because we are already spreading our truth, or version of the truth, ahead of his more accurate version of the truth. This is another investigator who's just happening to be around. He's wandering. It's unfortunate, but nothing to be done. Let us move out location. With this advanced option on, if we are in the same location as the investigator, they can recognize the signs of shadow upon ourselves. Unfortunate. So let us be gone before the end of the turn, so that they don't spot us. He has no suspicion. Note the lack of spiky border. Only this one is suspicious. This one will share suspicion. We have not made a false accusation here, so it will be believed. Unfortunate, but there is nothing to be done. This one is spending his wealth, and therefore note the wealth has created liking. This person likes us 45 now. Excellent. We've made a friend. We'll move to the town, and we will continue spreading the lies. Here is that other investigator. Currently there's no evidence lying around, so there's no motive for this one to be involved. They're departing because they have no reason to be here for now. We're not leaving any more evidence, so all is good. This one is now hated by 5 people, and we have no more accusatory ability against them. A shame, but let's move out and move to a more defensive stance. And we find that our merchant has spent all their wealth. They would need to go back and collect cargo. But what we actually want to do is begin the infiltration. Infiltrate. It is a 7-turn task, and it will increase the infiltration value of the location. All agents share the same infiltration. Once one has a copy of the key to the locks, then all of them can have that copy of the key. So this person's only job is to essentially rush down the defences. They want to infiltrate as many times as it requires to get to a 90% infiltration level before the other investigators manage to convince enough nobles that we are the problem and need to be removed from the nation. No one believes this guy is a problem. Many people are starting to suspect us. However, if any investigator gets nearby, we can gather more evidence against them and begin spreading our lies in the south. We may have lost the north, but the south is still ours. This is Cam's. While they don't currently have any major evidence, they saw us because we were on the same location at the end of the turn as they were. It's simply for the best if we were to get all investigators to be disbelieved. We don't know where the evidence is going to turn up, so may as well preempt this. Okay, our first infiltration is completed. We are now at infiltration 28. We have produced evidence here. This is unfortunate because the evidence is inside society's borders, so all of these will sniff it out at a distance. They'll be coming any time now. which is best if all of them were already believed to be in league with the shadow, so that no one believes them down here. They can tell their truth up here, and at some point the nobles will have a sufficient majority to vote to expel us from the kingdom. But for now, they are hated enough they can't convince these nobles that we are in league with the shadow. And that's important, because if this duke ever suspects this merchant, then our attack will start failing. For now, however, the duke really likes the merchant, and so our infiltration is proceeding well. Let's send our investigator up here. Your Couplier has learned of evidence in Church of Rov and is travelling to investigate. Who are you? That's the one. They are coming to investigate evidence. Let us... someone else move there. We need them alone if we wish to strike. So, if they get this evidence, they will be suspicious of our merchant. They will tell the Duke. The Duke will no longer trust the merchant, and we will stop being able to investigate. Let us first disrupt them. Disrupt them will prevent them from taking action for 5 turns. It'll keep them locked down here, giving us more time to act. And we will produce false evidence against them. This allows us another 5 charges of attacking. And so they have gained a tiny bit of suspicion because we stayed in the same location at the end of the turn. But it does allow us to claim to the Duke that they are in league with the Shadow. And therefore, they will be less believed. Even if they do unearth the evidence now, it'll have less effect. And now, the Duke hates them more than 100. So, their liking is minus 100, and therefore nothing they say will be believed. Minus 100 being the maximum disliking. Infiltration for the next level is at 6 out of 7. Excellent. And we will spend the rest of these charges just gaining more allies. Another merchant, investigator, has discovered that this evidence is not being investigated and is also travelling down. This is why we need to act fast. The more people who arrive, the harder it will be to control the situation. We're on a timer here. But we should still have the upper hand. It's worth noting at some point that this is obviously not all an agent can do. Here is the voting screen. Notice we are interacting with the merchant. The merchant can convince other nobles. Oh, in fact, I should have noticed this. I'm sorry. They are condemning one of the people. Someone has been convinced that one of the people we've accused, Investigator Diaz, is in league with the darkness, because we told them they were. And so the nobles are voting whether or not to condemn them. If they're condemned, they will be exiled from the country. They will have to leave or be killed. If they depend upon a particular city, they may simply lose all funding and essentially be killed, but not truly killed, simply lose their position, and so they become irrelevant. We are interacting without a character there, because we've simply clicked on a city, but we can interact with our merchant. And the merchant has liking with certain people. They got 0 liking with the Queen, but the Duke Ord likes of 50. And if we had better convincing, we could spend some of their liking here to influence the Duke's vote. This is a pretty extreme case of voting, so it'll be very difficult to swing them in this case. But in easier votes, you can use merchants as political figures as well, as you do in the voting. So that is another use for the merchant, and one which produces no evidence. They are simply doing their standard politicking. They don't appear to be in league with the darkness, they simply appear to be selling stuff and then using that as bribe money to convince politicians, which is an entirely reasonable and legal thing, I assure you. So, another investigator is down here. Merchant has completed another round of investigation, but it looks like they'll need another 2. And this person is now investigating evidence. We will need to... How much are you liked? Utterly hated, actually. So you're not currently a threat. What we might want to do is convince them that that one is also a valid target. So let's continue our infiltration. This person will hate us. We just need to accept that at this point. We're running out of power, and we've already convinced the Duke that this guy can't be trusted, so he'll need to go up here to warn people. So I think we are best off taking out this guy. He's disrupted for another 2 turns, so let's move up here and produce false evidence against him. Okay. Now he is suspicious, but a little bit, because we've ended turn in the same location, and then we will warn the Duke not to trust him either. Lots of people are gaining a lot of suspicion. Tolerable. The Duke now doesn't trust this person, although they've not coming back down here, so maybe that was a waste of time. But better safe than sorry. So next up, we will carry on spending the rest of this charges. Large numbers of people will hate an innocent man and try to get him executed, but that's just the way of life. Our merchant has another 2 turns. This person still likes them. This person is investigating evidence, at which point they'll consume it. So at least no one else will turn up, which is happening. This guy is coming. This guy is coming down here. So let's disrupt one of them. Infiltration now at 78. We need one more turn of, one more cycle of infiltration to succeed here. Our liking is slowly decreasing over time because we're not spending any more wealth, so the bribes are having less effect. Unfortunate. That one is disrupted. That one is sharing suspicion but is hated by the Duke, so it doesn't matter. This one is now the problem. They are investigating the evidence. They are not hated by the Duke, so if ever they share that suspicion, we will lose. So what we will do is... the infiltrator has probably done all they can for this operation. I meant to do produce false evidence there, so we could get more charges, so we could accuse him more times, but hopefully it'll be fine. This one is now at 2 of 3, so let's wait one more turn. They have uncovered the evidence, and now we will disrupt them. That should hold us down for their disruptive for 5 turns, so we should have exactly enough time before they warn the Duke. If not, we can simply recast our power. This person produces false evidence and can begin re-accusing this one. He's disliked locally, but he's not disliked by the Queen. So let's accuse him to the Queen. Does anyone distrust us? The North does. This person is hated by these people, and that's a disrupted unit. So, more false accusations, more turn taking. We have 2 more turns, and we are now at 100. And this one is still disrupted, and so we can complete our task. We will enthrall the noble. And so this brings them under our control. As in the previous game, an enthralled noble is someone under your control in the political sphere. In this particular case, it is a high-ranking person, because we've spent all this time with these agents, getting up to all these shenanigans. We've managed to take control of a high-ranking noble. Both of these agents are probably doomed. 2 investigators dislike them. This one's on timed life. It only takes a certain amount of time for even a nation of this size to build up a majority who have been warned and hate us, at which point we will be exiled from the kingdom. If we'd worked harder towards just warning people, perhaps with 2 investigators, we could have got other investigators kicked out the country, at which point they could no longer warn the nobles. They may go to foreign lands and warn them, but that would give us almost free reign over this country. But that is not what we chose to do. We chose to simply demonstrate the procedures behind infiltration and evidence and various strategies of how to deal with it, and have accomplished a medium complexity task. Now if we view the society, go to hierarchy view, and that's us, right next to the Queen. So, we've done well here. Look at us with our bizarre plant crown hat. Excellent. So I hope this has been slightly helpful in some way. And I hope if you do play the game, you enjoy it. So, for now, thanks for watching. I'll be seeing you next time.